What do the Knicks in general, because again, you grew up in New York, you know New York, it flows through your veins. What do the Knicks mean to New York City?
I mean, listen, we haven't been champions for so many years, but basketball in New York is so intrinsic to the architecture of the city.
Yeah,
You really can't walk a mile, literally, in all the five boroughs without walking past a basketball court. Whether it's being used, whether now there might be pickleball,
yeah,
whether now it might be something else going on, or whether no one's playing there. But New York and New York basketball are synonymous. We've been through the highs, we've been through the lows. Um, but the Knicks, and when we're doing good, and when the Knicks, when they're like a team that represents the true blue New York spirit, there's nothing like it. You know, the
no,
Yankees, their success is one thing. The Mets, their success is another thing. The Giants, the Rangers, but there's nothing like having a basketball team
yeah.
in the world's most famous arena. That combination of Madison Square Garden and the Knicks is something that, you know, the Giants, the Yankees, and the Mets, and the other teams. It's just part of the culture of New York basketball.
Yeah, it's just so weird to me from a distance. And again, Ernestine and I lived in New York for whatever it was, 15 years. So I have some feel for what you're talking about. It is the mecca of basketball. It is, in fact, I know baseball's big there, especially with the Yankees, but there's something about the feeling that I get when I'm in New York for basketball. It's religion. It's like you said, it's part of the structure of the city, literally with court after court after court. And yet, what just astounds me is that you directed a documentary about the last championship. It's 52 years ago. And it's hard to fathom that what a lot of people think is the greatest city in the world. We could argue that. I think LA is pretty great, but again, if it is the greatest city in the world and basketball is its religion, then doesn't it seem unfathomable that it hasn't won a championship? It's been to two. One was that strike year in 99, but 94, 99. But still, you won two in 70 and 73, and you were like, in 73, you were like 3 years old, or right?
Mm-hmm. 3 years
So,
old.
yeah, 3 years old. So it's not like that's part of your psyche and your sports memory. I don't even think you can probably remember much about it, right? As far
Nothing,
as,
nothing.
yeah,
Of course
nothing.
not.
Okay.
I
So,
mean, listen, it's been storied, it's been discussed. I've ranted about it, I've screamed about it. I have been through the highs and the lows. I have been through the 80s with the Patrick Ewing and the Bernard Kings.
yeah,
And I was with the 90s with the Jeff Van Gundys and the Pat Rileys and the Charles Oakleys and the Latrell Spreewells and those Doc Rivers teams. And then in the 2000s, it's been really bad. You know, I was never a believer in the Carmelo. I think Carmelo's a great player, but those
yeah,
teams, I
I'm
never
with you
felt
on
like
this. Yeah, I
I
agree.
never believed we were going to do something
No,
incredible. And I think some of that has to do with the core guys. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I think we're going to win the championship, but I feel like we have a nucleus. When New York Knicks teams, even the 90s teams, we didn't get over the hump, but there was something about those teams that was they were workers. They were 9 to 5ers. There was no glitz. There was no suntan oil. It was just ham and eggers. And these New York Knicks, as much spice as Jalen Brunson puts on a defender, it's only when necessary. I call them the New York Nerderbockers. I feel like they're nerds. They're
yeah,
understated. It's
that's
not a
good.
fashion show,
Yeah,
and I feel like, you know, they understand what it means to play in New York. And that means something. And I think the media, even though it's changed and everybody's got a podcast and everybody's got a show, it is still the Mecca and it is still New York City. And these guys get it. And I'm just hoping and praying that they stay healthy, they stay together, and you know, we get it. We get a championship with these guys because it took a lot to get where we are right now. It took a lot to come back from 20 points last night in the It's only the second round of game one, but it took a lot.
Jalen Brunson. astounds me also because he's like 5'11". I don't know what he is, but I look at him next to the trees and he's stout. He's put together. I don't know how he does it. But he keeps getting his shot whenever he wants his shot, and nobody seems to be able to block it. I don't know. He's a wizard, man. I don't know how he keeps pulling it off. But you want to talk about having balls? He's got big balls.
He has got. I mean, I would love to know what his heart rate does during a game. It doesn't seem like it goes up or down. He's tough. He's left-handed. He's herky-jerky. I think, mentally, his strength mentally is above and beyond his ball handling, his shooting, and all that stuff because he just doesn't get rattled. And he's a great leader, an understated leader. He's amazing. He's amazing, and he's such a New York Knick. He's so New York as a New York athlete, as a New York basketball player. He, especially in 2025, he really truly is the fabric of New York City. The way he plays, the fact that his father, Rick, played for the Knicks teams. He didn't play much, but he was there. I mean, it's an incredible story, and the fact that Dallas gave him up like he was nothing. I still don't understand it, but I'm happy we have him. And he superseded everybody's expectations, I think, except for maybe his and his father's.
Yeah, exactly. So now quickly take me back to that doc that you directed, 73. What was the difference in 73 and 2025? When you look at the fabric of that team, what was it? Just more star power, more... What
I got to say, there's similarities. I haven't thought about that, specifically. I don't want to, be able to match up man for man.
Yeah.
But, as glitzy as Clyde's image was off the court, on the court, and who he was as a player, he wasn't, like some big college star. The Clyde image, took off. But on the court, he had sauce, but he was understated. He was tough. And obviously his his championship game 7, he showed it completely. But who those guys were similar to this team. They were hardworking, understated. Willis Reed, Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere, and they loved playing for New York. And they were, Phil Jackson and the late great Dick Barnett. Yeah. And they got it. And
Earl the Pearl. Right?
And Earl the Pearl came at 73.
Yeah.
But, that first championship team, there was, when I did that documentary, the thing that they talked about and the fans talked about and the sort of reminiscing was that they were a hard-nosed, tough team that played like a team. It was the past before the past before the past. That's what the great Bill Bradley talked about, the past before the past before the past. And that has to do with, not so much even more than coaching, it's who you are as a person, being unselfish and trusting your team. Sometimes I feel like the Knicks need to move the ball more. I feel like even Jalen, as much as I love him, sometimes he gets bogged down pushing and banging the rock too much. Yeah. But we need to pass the ball. But I think the essence of those teams and the spirit of those teams are very similar.
And obviously Willis Reed hobbled out for a game 7 and just, I guess he made his first shot, and then that's all you needed to inspire and lift the whole.
Here comes Willis. Here comes Willis.
Yeah. Okay. And you were talking about Clyde, who's Walt Frazier, who's still going strong as a Knicks broadcaster and still styling and profiling as a Knicks broadcaster. But to your point, I'm old enough that I got to watch him. I got to watch him in college. He was meat and potatoes. He just played basketball the way you're supposed to play basketball, and was a rebounder and a potential sort of triple-double guy. And that team had.
He was a big guard.
For his time.
And Walt Frazier, but he's taller than Jalen Brunson at the time. A 6'3", like a legitimate 6'3" guard was considered. That'd almost be like a 6'6" guard now. Like he was a tall guard, but the Clyde and the image and the dressing and the sneakers wasn't who he is. That was an image that was contrived, and it was great for him and great for the team. But that's not who he was on the court. I mean, Earl was more flashy than a player than Clyde was.